Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel Miracle Oracle Techno-Functional. First step is to create a new BI report with the output format as XML. Your output format can be anything, but in this case we have used XML as the output format. The very next step is to note the report path, which is very important because the OIC needs the path to call this BI report. So we'll just note it down and then we'll use it accordingly as per the OIC parameter. The next step is to create two connections. First of all is the REST connection for the app-driven orchestration, because this particular integration is the smaller chunk of the HCM project which we are going to create. So this smaller chunk will be called by the different integrations. So that's why we have created as a REST connect. We need to create one REST connection which will be help us to create the app driven orchestration. The next step is to create the SOAP connection to call the BI report. Okay, and then the integration will start with the REST connection. Basically this will be an app driven orchestration. Then this REST connection will import the SOAP API, which will eventually call the BI report, and this BI report will be in base 64 format encoded. So we need to use one write file stage operation which will decode this base 64 format, and once this base 64 format is done, then we need to read the entire file using another stage operation. Okay, and then this stage operations response will be the input of the REST response. So we need to map it with the REST response. That is how we will get the output. Basically to build one OIC project regarding HCM, human capital management. So let's start with that. As per the Oracle recommendation, we have subdivided this integration into the smaller chunk of the integration. To start with, our main basic block is to develop one BI publisher report and call that from OIC. That is the first part of our integration for BI report. Okay, but I will just give you an overview how this BI report looks like. So I'm logged into that Oracle Fusion instance, and now if I go to the hamburger menu, and from hamburger menu if I go to the tools, and from there I will go to the reports and analysis, and it will give me this, and I will go to the browse catalog. Okay, so this appears. This I have created one data model and another one is the report. So if I go to the data model, is just basically a query where I have used one employee assignment details, and it is having one parameter like employment number. So I will show you the report output. Okay, so here is the query. If you see, this is the query, and then if you go to the parameter, p employee number is the one thing that I have defaulted to the 120 for now, just to see the outputs. Okay, I'm going to the home. Okay, so again going back to the catalog. So okay, Now this is my report. I have already defined this report template. Within this I have defined the report template. Let's go to that. Okay, so you make it a view, and I am just doing that output format as data XML, and data XML is the default layout here. Also going to the thumbnails, and this is what we have. Now I'm going back to the catalog. Now the most important factor is where that we need to understand that what is the path of this report, because we are calling this particular report from the OIC, not manual. So where I will go, this is the more section. Under the more, you just go to this schedule and you note down this report particular name which is basically required. I have already done this here. Okay. So this is the navigation to get the report path name, report details. Okay. So this is done. So if I run this particular report for the default parameter, let's see how it shows. I will open it and then let the data come. So I have just completed. Sorry, I think missed. I have shown you that what is the report output in the XML format, how it is happening previous, and if you see that it is all the data related to the employee 1 and employee number 120 and his assignments, his or her assignment. Okay. So now what we are going to do, we are going to create one REST connection so that it will be a trigger type of connection. That means that whenever it will just trigger the SOAP integration, we will come later part in this discussion. So this will just trigger and vanish, and it will return the responses from the SOAP API, whichever has been uh, reverted. Okay. Now I will create one SAM REST API. Okay. So here if you see the role, it is only the trigger role. Okay, keywords is not mandatory, description is not mandatory, so you can just create. Okay, and you can put it as basic authentications, then you save it. So SAM REST API, and then test it. Okay, so it has been showing that the confirmation that tested successfully. It's fine, we are ready with the REST trigger connection. Now the next very much step is to create the SOAP API to call the PI report. Now while creating the SOAP API, we need this particular section to add on my on top of my URL so that it calls the PI report. Okay, so the thing is my URL, and then additionally this XML parser services an external report WSS service question mark WSDL file. Okay, so that is how we need to call it. We'll go here and I'll just copy whatever my URL section is, and then I will create a SOAP based protocol, which is this. This is SAM SOAP call PI API. Okay, this will trigger and invoke. It will not only invoke, you can use the invoke also, but this is not specifically trigger one. So I will use the trigger and invoke both in this case. Okay, now going forward, I have created it. It will ask the WSDL URL, which I have just copied and which I have shown. Once done, then you need to come down and where you can mention this basic authentication as and provide your username and password. Okay. Have this one, put it here. Save this and try to test this, validating test. So it is also successful. Okay. And now from onwards, we are into very much into the create integration part. Okay. So here is basically, now when we go to these steps. Okay, now our create integration task starts. So first task is to call the REST connection to invoke the SOAP API, invoke SOAP API pertaining to the PEI report. Okay, so I will go to my OIC page, and then I will, here is the connection. I will go to the integrations here. Okay, and then I will, no integration till now, so I will create one. This is app driven orchestration. So basically the purpose of making this app driven, because it will be called from other integrations or other integrations in this case. So that's why it is a app driven orchestration as of now. But in case you have you can use the scheduled orchestrations as well. That can be scheduled separately from other yeah, you can schedule that orchestration also. Okay, so we will concentrate on the app driven orchestration as of now. I will select it, then I have to choose a name. So this is Sam call Sam call BI report. Okay, so I will put it under one package. Okay, I think I have already created some dot. Utility of this particular using package is basically to bind all the objects under one package, so that whenever we are importing one package, it will import all the objects all together, importing or exporting. Okay. So I am putting it Sam Oracle HCM. Okay. So I created this now. Create. Now we are in the integration start point. What I will do, I will just make it horizontal and make it a little this way. Now I will call the trigger REST API, right? So I will here I will call it Sam REST API. Okay. So Sam REST API, what this endpoint will do, this will invoke you can put any name. It is not something like that this name is supposed to be there. You can put any name there. And now moving to the next, what this operation do, this calls BI report. What is the relative URL? I can pass it like this way also. This is obviously a post method, because it will submit, invoke the SOAP API for the BI report. So this is a post, and in the next section you can do this: configure the request payloads, configure the endpoint to retrieve the response, both the true and add review parameters for the endpoint. Okay, moving to the next, I have one query parameter, that is be employee. Okay, so put it as string. Move to the next word. Now for rest, I have chosen this JSON sample, and inline I am passing the P employee number, so you can write it. So I will do 120 as of now, as we have the value as a default, but you can pass any. This is a JSON. Now going forward to the next, this is your request, now it is your response. Again select JSON. Now I will go to the one interesting fact about this, that you no need to write this JSON files. Okay, you can go to this freeformatter.com or any other converter URL from Google, and then you can transfer your output of the report to any other format like XSD format or JSON format. Okay. So if you go there and do a transformation of your XML file, then I will show you one of the requests. So this is the JSON file I have generated. Um, so, so, let me edit with Notepad. Now this is, if you see, this is the record and this is the array under which this G1 group is repeating. This is the array and this is the data structure of the JSON file. Or so I just copied it, I JSON sample, and then go to the inline and put it here, and OK. Now next, so everything is, this is my summary. Okay, then done. Now my REST API is ready. Here is my REST API. This is my REST API mapper. Okay, so think about your interface. What will happen? That this REST API will call one SOAP API to trigger the BI report, and the BI report data will come as a return value to this REST API. So that is how. So that's why this is the your mapper for the REST API. So this mapper should be linked with that output of the report. So we will come to that part later, but let's do this thing now. Let's call the SAM SOAP API. SAM SOAP API. Okay. Now what to call this? SOAP API. Report. Next, and do this. Here you can see that these all are coming from the URL I have provided earlier in the connection section. So here we will select this run report. Okay, and the next. It's fine that we are not going to configure the headers at this moment. Put it as it is, and then the summary section, and we are done. Okay. So our SOAP report, BI report is ready. Now what we need to do is to map. Map between what? Map between the input of the whatever we have passed through the REST API to the SOAP API. That is basically our parameter. So we will pass this parameter P employee number. Okay. So now go to the properties. So this is the report, the report request. So here, now here it will ask for the parameter name and values. Okay, now open this, then item. So here is our name. This is our name. This is our parameter name, and this is our parameter value. So parameter name, for the parameter name, what we will do, we will create one create target node, delivery here. We will make it as a text B. Employee. Save it. Save it. We'll go to the values part. Under the value we have item. We can put this under item. Now here you need the report absolute path. Which we have already copied. And save it. Okay. And one mandatory thing we need to mention is the report size of this value always should be -1. Afterwards we will see how we can make it parameterized so that path and all these absolute path name and other parameters can be passed as a parameters way to make it reusable component. Instead of calling one particular report, we can call multiple reports. Okay, but that we will discuss later part. But in this case, it's a simple one. Okay, so now I need to validate this. Okay. So now this goes. Okay. So our mapper is done. Okay, so input is done, parameter is passed, now the report has been generated. Now the next very much important thing is that whatever report we will receive from the SOAP API, that will be encoded into the base 64. Now we need to decode that one first. So how we will decode that? So we will use one stage function, stage file function here, which will basically use the decode 64. I will give it the name, and the thing is the write file. Okay, here I can mention the output file name as anything. You can as anything, as this does not exist, but it is an logical point. So output.xml, or I can say that virtual, and the directory is supposed to be not supposed to be any directory you can mention here. These all are virtual things, so you can mention any name. And it's expression. Okay, going to the next one. Now sample delimited document, I will use the XSD document here. Okay, so XSD document, you can go to the any of the converter available online, and you can do the XML to the XSD. Okay, so which I have also done. So here you can see that there is one XSD file, this one. Show you this. This is data structure is having data DS. Okay, I'm going to that, and now I'm done with the base 64. So here is the mapping. In this mapping, I need to map whatever file we have received as a output of the SOAP API and the base 64 response into this particular data TS. Sorry, here to mention one more thing I forgot, that for base 64 we will use XML XSD, but this file actually I used one file with OPEX schema. So OPEX schema details is basically that is provided by Oracle. This is nothing but an XML file which we can copy from the Oracle docs.oracle.com. Okay, and from there this will help us to decode the base 64 format. Okay, so update. Now if you go to this map, you can see here that opaque elements are mentioned here. Now which one I will should select here? You should select this SOAP API response, not the request, remember. Okay, so report byte contains the base 64 format which we will put to the opaque element and then validate. Okay, then we'll close this. Once this file is written into the base 64, decoded into the base 64 format, we need to read this file. To do so, we will use again one staging operation. So stage file operations, but this time read decoded data. Next, read entire file. There are multiple options are there for the read entire file, read file in segments. In case your file is in bigger size, you can save your it is having a bigger size, then you can read the entire file into a chunk. So that is what we can do. At this point, I'm just mentioning it as whatever I have mentioned. XML here and save it. Here we will use that XSD again, and then we will choose the XSD which we have generated from XML. So this one. Next, it's done. So now I have read the data, decoded data into this particular staging operations, and now whatever I need to do is this, to map between the staging operations, output of the staging operations, and the input of the response of the rest. Okay, so at your right side you can find that invoke PI SOP PI response is here, and our this part is will be decoded base 64 response stage 5. Okay. So go here, this is file reference. Sorry, I choose the wrong one. It's supposed to be this one. We've decoded this. I need to first map this employee number to employee number. First you need to do this, the repeating element to create. This is G1. If you see that there are multiple stack coming here, so that means it's a repeating element. So we need to create a link between the input and the output request and the response, so that it creates a for each loop, and if for every G1 it loops through. Then employee number here, then and location code here. You can use the location, last name to last name, and first name to first name, first name to first name, address like one, and city, state, zip code. It is not mandatory to birth date, last time date here, put it. Gender, status is important, job code, it's the job code, job name, that job name, let's go. Be employee number to be employee. Validate. Then close. Now we need to put a to tracking variable. This one, this separate. Copy this. Go to this, and first I will do the enable tracing and input payroll. Sorry. Here, and then we are ready to run this particular application. Let's see. Run this here. Individual pass test. So if you see here that it has been completed successfully, now we can see the responses, right? Whatever responses we have received in the XML format. So thank you for watching this. And in the next discussion, we will discuss about how to do the exception handling, which we do in the on-premises system. Here it is called the fault and fault management. We will handle the exceptions through the fault management in the next session. Thank you very much for watching this.